Ndewo, and welcome back to this channel. Anọ m here na-agụpụta the contents of my diaries. Aha Chidi Chukwudi Abara onye Umagangwuru. So, in my previous comments, ekwuru gbasara how what happened during my mother's first attempt at having a child. And after that unfortunate incident, I was made to understand that they didn't again began to make children. They waited to heal. So this must have taken some years, 2 years about. So before then, they started to have other children, which Mike was the first, and Moa, I was there the second. So the lives of our parents I might not want to dig too deep into it, because it was just like a normal set of family trying to make a living in a country like Nigeria at that time. So there was nothing spectacular, though there is one or two things I might want to refer to that happened at North. In my future comments, I might want to talk about those things, but they will not take so much of the time. But I will just have to make them as a reference only. But now I want to go away from the North and then return back to the village to see what has happened. So the war has ended. The federal government of Nigeria has declared that people should go back to their duty post and they continue their lives as usual. So Papa Ani Alabuhi back to his duty post at North, and I was made to understand that my father will not want to do that because of the ill experience he acquired during the massacre of the Igbo people at North. So that kind of a thing happened, that we also want to go back, even after it will take a while for the Igbos to begin to trust the Hausas, and they begin to want to live with them again after the massacre of the Igbo people. So Papa anyị ejeghị back to the North. Ebe Papa anyị jere Enugu. So Papa anyị anọ n'Enugu for some time. Bịa nweta information that the Ministry of Communication at that time has opened has started to operate at Lagos. So why not? He considered, and then he said, all right, he has to move back to Lagos. So he brought the family back to the village from Enugu, and then proceeded to Lagos. So while my dad was in Lagos, he did not take his wife and children. He left us to manage in the village. So life was so tough for my mom in the village. Like the only means of livelihood at that time was from the proceeds from the farm. So we harvest the cassava, we process it into gari, then some tubers of yam, some palm kernels, cracking some from the palm kernels from the oil, and then other small things, and then continue to wait for message from Lagos. If anybody have returned on Sundays, we go to church, and then waiting to see somebody who recently returned from Lagos, if there was any message from our dad. And then sometimes there was no telephone. Sometimes my mom will hear that somebody have returned from a distant village. My mom will go there to inquire if they saw my dad, if there's any message. Most times there was none. So my mom will return back, and then we continued to struggle. Mama still was like Ekrumoku Basara education, how education how my mom was denied the right of being educated. So my mom never took education lightly as far as her children was concerned. So with all those difficulties that was confronting our family at that early days after the Civil War, we were still going to school. Mike was going to school, I was going, Chinedu was going. So three of us were registered at the elementary school at St. Teresa's, despite the difficulties. So, and making a living and struggling in the village was just like, I spoke, it was just only that cassava. So, Chiduno Ozotuto, Mama Kutem Nora, because of all the children, Omwa when Mama Major Mete, Shim Julia Jebono, Kajef Ajapo, Mason Mama Magame, with Anyona. I was half asleep, ma parabo, Nesoje Mama, Mama may work on my neighbor hedges or more Nesoja. Anya Jedebe, move for the hour, Burukutu or something like that, the veranda pole, I don't know those kind of places. A year for Japo, Afucha the Japo, a papulea, a game afuni, my mom were Japan because I was still very small. So, apa the Japo, I have just Sachaya, Asachaya, Bia, Okano. Muni aja san awo muni aja from Mwere, awo from the stream. Age could muni no na Nkoro. I don't know this so it's kind of a hole a degree by the side of the road where rainwater was collected. So yeah, anya do amri from there. Where I just sacha the Japo sacha ya I ande ga koya ni I koya with greater no machine. A way greater. The introduction of the machine came much later, after many years after the Civil War. Otherwise, it was with greater. And all those kind of a thing. So, my mama kochaya, I have squeeze here. The process, the process of making gari was very, very tedious. So, I have made chaya, amanga para garia, ye chaya, para jena ya, orianguru. So, na orianguru, one of the basic place on the supermarket, on everything, on the hustle place for my mom was stationed there. She borrow a para garage there, apart from the sewing machine, the single sewing machine. Anga one ga para the sewing machine, apart from my mom ne burushi a bojano under the shade. Apart from the sewing machine there, the table, ake the gari, few tubers of yam, and you can imagine that. So this was the early days of our mother's life in the village, and she continued to struggle maintaining the family, making sure that we already know many oroko cage crayfish we gari we are able to feed. Mama struggled, and a very strong woman, and a very devoted woman, very godly, and had determination to make sure that the children, no matter what happened, I got school, or starting from her own experience of what she missed was, what she missed most, or education, which she was not able to acquire. And as such, my mother never took for granted the need to be able to make sure that despite all the difficulties, our father is not meeting up financially, we still go to school. So I thank God for that. So this was our early days in the village, and then by the grace of God, I moved one from the village and begin to talk about our early days in Lagos. Thank you for listening.